Good evening and a warm welcome to all our viewers. Luxury, a state of great comfort or elegance. Our sponsor for today's webinar is Parador, a leading international brand for premium quality wooden flooring with a rich German legacy of more than 40 years. From the house of HIL, a CK Birla company. It is known for its collaborations with the most illustrious names in design like Zaha Hadid, Jean Nouvel, Hadi Tehrani, and Karim Rashid to develop edge-cutting flooring designs. Parador offers an eclectic product mix of floorings in engineered wood, vinyl, and laminate. Let us head straight to our interactive discussions and find out from our eminent panel about the true definition of luxury living. Stalwarts for the evening are Architect Choudhary and Studio, the moderator for our today's session, Architect Nanda Kumar, ANDO, Miss Supraja Rao from Design House, Architect Sonali Bhagwati from DPA, Architect Alpa Shikre from SSA Architects. I hope we have an enlightening session. Before we start with our panel discussion, I now present to you our sponsor, Parador. After that, Mr. Choudhary will take the lead.
It's the ambition of each individual that turns a good product into a unique product. We find inspiration everywhere, in extraordinary places and in tiny details. It's the relentless urge to discover new things and to make things even better, which keeps us going. Our goal, when developing a new product, is always to achieve the best possible result. Product that withstands the rigors of life. From this awareness, our commitment to the highest quality is built. Each material is personally checked and selected by our experts. With our eye for detail, we follow every production step. Long before the final product, right from the start, sustainability is a decisive factor. It's the combination of the highest demands and the absolute dedication of each individual that creates a Parador floor. Floor that meets the highest expectations in technology and design. A floor that makes every home the most valuable home in the world.
So it's like, good evening and welcome to everyone. So we have Mr. Nanda Kumar from Hyderabad, Supraja Rao from Hyderabad again, and then we have Sonali Bhagwati from Delhi, and we have Alpa Shikre from Mumbai. So this is a panel discussion, a webinar that we are having over here, and we'll start off with the presentation slides from each and every one. We have a small presentation to do. So we'll start off with Mr. Kumar first.
Okay. I'll start.
Yeah. Great.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I represent a firm called Architecture and Design Office out of Hyderabad. And we also have another firm called Nanda Associates. Most of our work is in the residential sector and hospitality. So today we are talking about luxury living in sort of the post-COVID era, I guess. So the first project from our firm that we want to show is this house. It's called Meenakshi. And in a way, the idea of luxury starts with the selection of site itself. And this is one of those sites. This site had views of the Golconda Fort and the Qutub Shahi tombs. And that's what goes into the raising of the house onto a plinth. And most of the house was designed to take those views of the landmarks in Hyderabad. And we had a material palette in this house, which we tried to do materials that were more things that didn't need a maintenance as such. So we had this form finished concrete walls. Then the blue wall that you see in the photograph on the right is something, it's a Pondicherry finish. So this house is a split level house. Within the house, there are 2 levels connected by those stairs. And the highlight of the house is the skylight in the middle that brings in light to the middle of the house. Most of the material follow the idea of using natural materials. So the flooring is granite, and The bedrooms have engineered wood flooring, and most of the material, all the furniture and lighting elements, everything was procured locally here. And there are a lot of art that's been collected by the owner for a while. And our idea of design is to use passive design and look at a lot of natural light, and you don't need the lights during the day, essentially. So then I wanted to talk about what's important to us as a firm. These 2 slides are from around 2001 backpacking trip through Europe. And what I wanted to talk was about details which make up a lot of the efforts in design in the luxury segment. So the slide on the left, there's 3 different materials in the same frame. The titanium cladding, that's the Bilbao Museum by Frank Gehry. So you have this juxtaposition of stone cladding with titanium cladding connected through this glass element. That idea of putting different materials together and detailing it out is what thing. And the other one is one of my favorite details out of IMP's Louvre Museum. That beautiful railing. It's based out on a marble railing in the Milan Cathedral. And the beauty is in that scooping that stone out to receive that metal handrail. So detailing is something that appeals to our work. And this is another house. Again, Hyderabad has this topology and geography where we have these hillocks and we have vistas and views that we can utilize in design. So this house is designed with these pavilions that you see, that lit pavilions, which look out onto the landscape and the views beyond. And so we have our vocabulary is pretty simple. This project we collaborated with Shantanu Garg out of Jaipur, and most of the workers doing the work were from Rajasthan. And so the idea is to have this openness in the public side of the house, and which you can see in the photographs highlighting the pavilion and looking out into the garden stuff. So a lot of the lit places with the glazing open onto the landscape and the views beyond. So that's a slight introduction to our work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kumar. That was some lovely projects over there. Supraja, would you like to take it over from here?
Sure.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. So my take on luxury pre or post-COVID, there are certain things which are important to me. And first slide I'm showing you is one of our new project. We just, like, this is the picture from February 13th. They just moved in, the housewarming was in the February 14th. So here for me, luxury is in scale. I mean, if we can have volume and enjoy space, to me, that's a really beautiful and an experience. The next two slides are from a high-rise building. I think this is the 15th floor. It's got some fabulous views. So I think if you're able to see endless skies, of course, see water, some plants and trees, to me, that's really luxury. Of course, good detail, art, a great aesthetic sense, color palette, all those are an important aspect of it, put them in a good proportion. Luxury can also be in materials and grandeur, so excellent craftsmanship, great finish, and fabrics, great light fixtures. So in a residential sector, I think putting together all these things well is important, and that's what luxury means to me. Thank you.
That was quite short and crisp, Supraja. Thank you. From here, Sonali, can you please take over?
Okay. Hi everyone. I'm Sonali Bhagwati from DPA Delhi. We are an architectural firm doing a variety of works. Talking about luxury, according to me, there are a few components that really consist of luxury. The common perception of luxury is, of course, big spaces, lots of bling bling, expensive branded furniture, and lots of crystal. But I think that's not, of course, it's luxury, but that's not the only thing that defines luxury. According to me, true luxury comes from putting together a lot of things correctly. The first of all, of course, is the site selection. Now, a good site, an exotic site, certainly is an element of luxury. I mean, if you take the Bulgari Hotel in Bali, or if you take any of the Jeffrey Bawa hotels or homes, which are really in the midst of lush green rainforests or on cliffs overlooking the ocean, these are really exotic sites, and these do lend to a great deal of luxury. So how much you can merge the outdoors with the indoors, the design that really merges the two together seamlessly, wherein you transit from indoors to outdoors into the nature, into this exotic location that you have, is an element of luxury. How much you can bring the outdoors inside is also an element of luxury, in the sense that when you have small indoor courts forming, which are highly landscaped, which bring in a light within a large area, that itself is an element of luxury. So these are the things that relate to nature, the site, the location, and how we merge them together with our building that constitutes luxury. Next. Okay, the next part of luxury is, of course, your materials. Using pure materials, according to me, is an element of luxury, because in today's day, we really don't get to use these. We don't get to design with this and show the true worth of what these materials can do, because very often form evolves with these materials. And today we do a lot of mix and match, mishmash in order to create something, but it has lost its purity. So to bring back that purity in architecture is an element of luxury. For example, if you take concrete Concrete can do a whole lot of things. It can give you large spans. It can give you really thin lines. It can give you floating edges. That is luxurious. To use it correctly. You take timber. Timber is a natural element. Use of good timber as a structural material, to use it in a way that really enhances and shows the true quality of that material, according to me, is luxury. The same thing goes with brick, and the same thing goes with stone. These are really beautiful materials which, according to me, are not being used correctly. And to bring them back and use them correctly to show their true worth is an element of luxury. Next. The next element of luxury, according to me, is form. The fact that you can really experiment and build bold forms into your design is an element of luxury, because that is not something we are able to do so easily. These things are difficult. They are, even for a client, it's difficult. It is a difficult design. It has a lot of challenges. And I think when you are able to achieve that, it is like crafting a form. And crafting a form is an element of luxury. Not everyone can craft. It requires a lot of time. It requires a lot of effort, a great deal of detailing, and a great deal of coordination. And all this effort only goes to contribute towards creating the ultimate luxurious end product. So bold form, well-detailed form is an element of luxury by all means. The next thing is art. Art and colors. The way we use them, colors, textures, art, and lighting, according to me. So these are the elements that by itself, they may be whatever. You can have a piece of art which is from a very junior artist, but it could be really nice and pretty. And the way you integrate that into a setting, you create a micro setting with it, is what constitutes luxury. If you take the right colors, you juxtapose them correctly, you take the right textures, you apply them correctly, you balance them out, you create the right balance between the warm and the cool. That's what luxury is. A correct balance of all this is what constitutes luxury. If you take even like, let's say, an Amman hotel, very often they use very, very simple materials, but it is juxtaposed with color, it is juxtaposed with textures, and the right balance creates a right experience. And that's what brings in the element of luxury. So it is not that you have to use a silk, it is not that you have to use a painting by a very senior artist, which costs a great deal of money. Yes, of course, a good painting is a good painting. There is no denying that. But you could put together a whole experience which is based on things which are not necessarily expensive, but requires a great deal of coordination. And the way you put it together and the way you create the experience is what creates the sense of luxury. And of course, last but not the least is what we call the services. Now, whether we have the sanitary ware, whether we have very, very good lighting, we have automation, we have other furnishings. So this is what also contributes to luxury. Now, again, when we take lighting, you could use, of course, very expensive lighting. But if that very expensive lighting is not put correctly, it will just not give you the right effect. It will not give you the right experience. If you take automation and if you sort of just do it piecemeal, it is not going to give you the right experience. So when you put all these services together, but you put them in a way that enhances the experience of living within that space, it is then that you create the sense of luxury. So the sense of luxury, according to me, is the experience and not the elements in its individual capacity. Each element individually may be good, bad, very subjective, but the way it comes together and the way you create an experience for the person living there is what will denote the sense of luxury or not.
Thank you, Sonali. That was really beautiful, soulful, and I would say foundational take on luxury living. Handing over to Alpa.
Okay, so luxury to me is a very comprehensive and experiential high. It's all when you say or perceive something and say, wow, that is what is luxury. So it is not only to do with space, but it's about the experience. So if we talk about like in the aviation industry, we are talking about the experience in a first class cabin where you have a 180-degree reclining space where you can have a nice luxurious lunch or dinner or whatever is served to you, or you even have your own cabin shower. So that is the ultimate in aviation luxury, I think. So it is about the perception of the entire experience of that space. Even in automobiles, it's not only about the brand that defines luxury, but the experience in sitting into that car and feeling the leather seats or the automation of the windows going up and down, the sound system. So it is all a perceived luxury. It's not only about a brand or a thing. Now, when we talk about living, this is one of the buildings that we have designed. It's a luxurious high-rise apartment because it not only gives you space. In this particular project, there's a 360-degree terrace around your apartment. It is surrounded by a terrace, so obviously it's a luxury, but it has a luxurious view, and it has all the high-tech, luxurious interactions in terms of automation, or these panels that you see, they slide as per the sun direction. So we don't have it all around the building, but there are few, and they are automated to move with the sun. So this is perceived as luxury, especially in today's millennium days. All the millenniums, if you ask them what is luxury, for them technology is a luxury. For a little older generation, it's not only the technology, it is also the view, the vista, the connection with the indoor and outdoor, how airy your space is, how much light comes in. So it all together is a luxury. And then it comes down to maybe the materials or the finishes, besides the volume of the space, about what you have actually used as in terms of the finishes, okay, brass or copper or gold or whatever it is, may be again defined as luxury. So it goes from the perception of the space to how you feel the wind in your space, how you see the material, what is the touch and feel. So it's all on what you hear. And that's why even the spas, the resorts are like luxurious resorts, because like in a spa, you go, the sound, the smell, the feel, everything is luxury. So luxury is a experiential perception, whether it's in a space or in a house. That is my take on luxury. Thank you.
Great, Alpa. That was very nice take on that. So I'll take 3 minutes for my presentation now. I'll just put it on. So hi all, this is Love Choudhary. I represent Architecture and Design Studio. We are based out of Delhi, and our majority of work consists of high-end luxury hospitality spaces and residential spaces. For me, luxury is all about care. As Alpa told, if you own a Bentley, if you own a Rolls Royce, the feel of the leather and the way it's been crafted, every detail has been taken care of. Similarly, if luxury should contribute to something, it's care. We attend to automation, we attend to beautiful furniture, we attend to nicer details, we attend to volume. What exactly are we giving our client is care. We care for their living. So for luxury living, I feel care is the utmost part that a designer, as an architect, we should take care of. So I will show you 3 projects which are of different genres. So the first one is, this is a villa in Delhi, Sector 44, 10,000 square feet plot. This image that gives me is, it's a dynamic green space. So the balcony kind of opens up to a veranda, which is cantilevered on a double-like space. and then we have the screen in front of us. So we are kind of connected with nature, as Sonali said earlier, that it's about connecting the living to the non-living. A house is like a non-living thing, but the atmosphere around is living. So we need to connect the inside to outside. So architecture should speak volumes, the interior should speak volumes, and it should blur the lines between the outside and the inside. So this is what an image that kind of emotes an emotion when you see and when you look at it. You interact and you see yourself over here doing a couple of things, sliding down. You can have a cup of coffee over there overlooking the neighborhood, or probably just lounge around the space with the beautiful vertical gardens over there. The next project is more of like an apartment project. So this was a penthouse that we did. So over here, the luxury belongs to the owner's thought process. He owns a penthouse which was approximately certain crores. So he wanted to spend, or detailed furniture, he wanted to spend money on the way the finishes look. So this is a foreplay of reflections for me. I reflected the culture or the thought process or the living standard that he was carrying, and we brought that into the interior space. So the way the dynamic lighting fixtures are, it kind of mesmerizes people. The kind of finishes on the marble that we did, the kind of lustrous floor that we put out. So this reflected his standard of living. The third project this is again out of a villa that we did. So this is what light, shadow, the basic foundational thought process as a designer, as an architect, we can bring into a space is playing with the volumes, playing with light, bringing in the fresh air. Because for me, luxury, as I mentioned, is care. Is care for getting fresh air, is a right to get fresh air, is a right to be, every space should get sunlight. So these foundational thought process of an architect is what will make it like a luxurious space. So when you see this image, you see how the light kind of filters into the cotton steel jali, the landscape kind of adds up to it. And the palette, it's very subtle. It's not very strong or contrast. It's a very subtle palette. So for me, luxury is all about care.
That is wonderful, really some good work.
Thank you, Supraja. So I'll take the honor from here to have a few question and answers round. And to start off with a little icebreaker question, I can figure out, a lot of people, a lot of you are out there, some are working from office, some are working from home. So this has been the new normal. We have made our homes, our office spaces as well. And this is new for designers and architects because we are someone who believe in the thought process of, touch and feel. We want to feel the material. We want to go out on the side. We want to be, it's visual for us. Everything comes down to visuals and details. So what I wanted to know was, how did you transition from this thought process of working in an office with such a studio environment with collaborative people, bringing into your workspaces at home? And as designers, we got chances, to design our own spaces. So I would take it from Mr. Kumar. What is your take on this? How did you transition?
Okay. So we didn't really transition we were pushed into it.
Okay.
So I guess the weekend before we got into the lockdown, we got everybody to sort of mail the files over to themselves, each of the guys working on it. So that sort of helped us at least continue some part of the work. And we're not technically set out to be working from home, but then we figured out a method. We had a common Dropbox where we put in the files they're working on, exchange views there, and I've started sketching on the iPad.
Great.
So it's gotten me to have that sketching. So drawings come in as PDFs, we sketch over it and goes back to them. So we've been taking baby steps in trying to get this to work. It's not efficient across the board. Some people work well, some people aren't yet gotten to grips with it. And we're also starting to work, try to get back to work from this week on. Regarding space at home, I've never actually worked from home. I always went early and came back home really late. So this has been a total new change. And my wife's also working from home. That's another dynamic that you need to work around or work with. So we have those issues when both of us have calls. we'll have to find different spaces within the house to do stuff. So things like that. Yeah.
Supraja, over to you. Supraja, can you hear us?
So I think as human beings, we are very adaptive, and we're all creatures of habit. As much as initially there was a lot of resistance by everybody, that and all of us thought our world will come shuttering down if we don't go to office, for a week or 2 or 3. I mean, it's unthinkable of not go to office for a couple of months. At least in Hyderabad, we've started office about 3 weeks ago now, but of course we come in a few days a week. So I think for me, it's been a beautiful journey of discovering how we think our world completely rests on our shoulders and how little we matter, on a larger picture. But coming specifically to work, fortunately, I got a little heads up thanks to some of the WhatsApp groups I am in, and I heard, a lot of my Bombay professional friends on the Monday before the Janata Ka curfew started talking about initiating work from home. And that led me to start off the conversation within my office on the Monday. By Tuesday, Wednesday, my team had got their laptops, made sure everybody was well equipped, transferred the data. And the Thursday before that, we did a dry run, but it was supposed to be, it could go Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but eventually we came back to office only in May. So for a month and a half, we could work. At a personal level, I worked very less because I really wanted to take this time off to regenerate, because I knew when I get back to work, I will work. But yeah, we were fairly okay as a team. We worked and didn't face that much difficulties, because we've done projects with clients where we've done Skype calls and screen share before. We've worked in overseas and outstation projects. I think this was more like that kind of an experience where you don't meet people real time in person, but still go on with work. And it's really reminds me of the times where we only met in person and spoke. Then we moved to landline, and then we moved to cell phone. And then now we do WhatsApp images. A lot of stages of most designers in WhatsApp is can't talk, just text. You see, so I think we will move to this new way of interacting like this, because as long as there's human interaction, we'll be able to work and move around.
Great. Okay, great. So that was a very nice take from Supraja. That was quite, the thought process is all about using this time to release, to reinvent, and come back stronger, and probably in the right path, which works for the nature and which works for the humankind as well. So taking here from further, I would like to hear from Sonali. What's your take on this?
Whenever we designed office spaces, we used to always have this one key line that said, feel at home at work. And now that we are working at home, it's really quite the opposite. We've started saying, feel at work at home, So the tables have really turned on this account. So, we also fortunately before the lockdown managed to move all the systems to various people's homes, which was between desktops and laptops, and got the whole work from home protocol in place. So technically we've all been working, but I have to admit that we work longer hours, but we produce only 70% of what we did. So, some projects have gone fine, where it is much more documentation. Projects where there has been a lot more interaction and brainstorming definitely go slower, because, I do miss working with the team. So this is where I feel that there's this little sort of thing between work and home. But personally, I would say I have, like what was said earlier, I have never worked from home. I have always been at office. Office has been my home for all practical purposes. This is the first time I've really spent so much time at home. And to my real pleasant surprise, I have enjoyed every minute of it. I have discovered my home literally, And I have sort of worked out my routine. I have built in my fitness regime with it. I have, I work, I exercise, I eat well. I'm doing everything right, I am not running around like a headless chicken. So I think there are these things which I have enjoyed. I have to admit that business is very worrisome right now. And, there is some challenges about connecting with the teams where we have to decide materials and colors and a lot of things, textures, where there is a whole lot of feel factor, things that we have to maybe just sit across the table. What we could do across the table in maybe one day takes us perhaps 2 days to achieve like this, going back and forth. So that's where it is. We have been working extensively on Zoom calls and go-to-meetings. We've done presentations. So work has been going on. I think, as I said, I've probably worked much longer hours from home than I've done from office.
Great. Yes, we have all been going through this situation, and I feel, yes, the efficiency has gone down. But I think it's the bright side to it is we are creative people and we are enjoying. As you said, that you have a fitness regime in place. That's lovely to hear about it. Alpa, how is it to be on the other side of the table? Now you are the end user.
Yeah. So usually I would say the city is an extension of your home and vice versa, because you are kind of using all the experience of going out, maybe working in the office or going party with your friends or to a restaurant for eating, and then you use your home. So the city itself is an extension of your home, which now has been kind of compressed to only your home. So yes, it is a difficult aspect, especially in a place like Mumbai, where we don't enjoy larger spaces. Majority of us don't enjoy larger spaces. We have 2-3 generations living in like 500 and 300 and 400 square foot of space. So it is difficult. I have experienced 2-3 things. Personally speaking, it is an experience. My kids had to come back from US, so all 4 of us want to use the net at the same time, and it's causing a lot of issues because they have their online college course going on. Sandeep has his webinars. I have my work. So it kind of is clashing where the connectivity is definitely a big part of this game. So we need to look into that. Reconfiguring the space. Again, we're not used all of us being at home at the same time and working at the same time. So yeah, carving out your own space to do your work, which is undisturbed, or that is another aspect. From my staff's point of view, just about 10 days back, we have managed to get everybody on page with the online, their machines, and because Bombay suddenly went into a lockdown, few of about 20-25% could take their machines and all home, but not everybody could do that because we have around 4 teams in our office, and out of that 2 teams have more site work rather than drawing, because they are interior sites. They are much smaller than the large architectural projects which can be done online. There's a lot of emotional quotient for the female staff. I have a majority, quite a few female staff on my team, and they have to juggle their housework because there are no maids, no help, no external help. They have to stay at home the whole day. They have to do their kids' work because now schools have become online, so they have to, kind of help. So there's a lot of emotional quotient to this working at home. So yes, we have not achieved full efficiency, and like Sonali said, we are working more hours and getting a lesser in output. Yeah, but we are getting used to the concept, and we are waiting for us to go back. Although majority of the friends I have talked to in Mumbai have said they are not going to open their offices even after 8 June, which is supposed to be the day when we can start going to work, because they've said only 10%. And it doesn't make sense to open up the office and do all the extra paraphernalia for that 10%. So we are yet going to continue working from home, most of us.
Okay, that was quite insightful. These are problems that we all are facing as architects, designers. My only thought process is, yes, women rule the world for me. I really would tell that, yes, you can juggle around a lot of things. I have my mother at my place. She takes care of everything. She does the whole, day in, day out goals. And yet she is available for each and everything. And I can imagine, because I have a lot of female staff as well working with me. So taking care of things at home and then also working. So yes, it does affect, but that, it is a part of things that we have to understand. This will be the new normal for us. And it is a little sad, but that we are not able to go out, to work in office, because we are social beings as well. as architects, creative people, we are someone who would, like to interact and be in studios. It's like a collaborative process. As Sonali said, artworks, everything. It is all about visual thought process. So taking on from here, now we are all from different, horizons. We have Mr. Nandu from Hyderabad, Alpa is there from Mumbai, Sonali and me, we are from Delhi, Supraja is again from Hyderabad. So I just wanted, what do you think? India is a vast country, we have so much to offer in terms of languages, dialects, food that we eat. Geographically, coming to the thought process of a designer, how do you define a luxury living geographically? How does it come to, as a designer, that how to put in that soul of that place as a designer? So I would start this with Alpa. Alpa, what's your take on this?
Yeah, so I come back again to my first, this of perception, because it is about the perception. In Bombay, we are not blessed with space. So luxury, like Nandu said, it starts with the site selection, because if a person has a 3 BHK, but it is on a higher floor with a higher ceiling, with a community that offers a lot of amenities, that itself is a luxury. I mean, that may not be the perception of luxury in Hyderabad or Delhi or Pune, even Pune or Ahmedabad, because their villa with the open space is a perception of luxury. I think the change here would be that if a house has an open balcony, a deck space, some extension of outdoors will become one of the luxuries in Mumbai, especially. Because after staying home for so long, people want to connect to the outside. And about 80% of the buildings here do not have any balcony space or any outdoor space. That said, standalone buildings which will offer good amenities. In Mumbai, there are community spaces, like there will be spaces which are projects which have a FSI of 3 and 4. So it's a very dense space, enjoying a lot of amenities. But now the perception of a standalone with a less FSIUs, more open space, I am blessed, I'm enjoying that kind of a space, because our building is luckily has used only 1.33 FSI, which is not the norm. And we all are really blessed. We are really enjoying the space. We are less people. We are able to maintain the social distance and yet enjoy all the luxuries of the spaces. Another thing I think is about yes, geographically it will differ, because like I said, the perception of space in Mumbai is different from that in Delhi or Hyderabad or XYZ city. So yeah, that's my take on that.
Okay. On contrast, Mr. Nandu, what do you feel? Hyderabad, we have ample spaces over here.
Hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, so Hyderabad's, I think space is sort of defined by land costs. So what you can buy in Bombay, for the same amount, you'd get a palatial space here in Hyderabad. So that fundamentally shifts the idea of luxury that Hyderabad has or whatever. So we're also blessed with landscape, the rocks, the hillocks and all that. So those come into play when we design in Hyderabad and all that. The other thing, so if you look at geographically, Hyderabad and Bangalore are both landlocked, but the way the layouts have been done, Hyderabad has these huge lots in most of these planned layouts, and Bangalore has more or less these 60 by 40 layouts. So there's that thing of sizing that happens. The other thing about geography and luxury is the ultimate luxury is having that second house or the holiday home, right? For Bombay, it might be Alibag. So Hyderabad, we tend to have these farmhouses out in the suburbs or beyond. And there's another thing these days where half of Hyderabad has properties in Kunur, which is a hill station in Tamil Nadu, which is a 1 flight away and a 3-hour drive. So that's a new thing that's happening. So when we're designing something there, the hills have a restriction that you can only build 2,500 square feet. But you enjoy the hills, the nature and all that. So these situations change across, and the typology of the houses and all that change. The other thing that Sonali mentioned about indoor-outdoor, that's something is very important when you have these larger lots and stuff. There's transition spaces and outdoor living. That we realize now in the lockdown that having that outdoor, the connect to nature becomes very fundamental and important. Yeah, thank you.
Great thing, great thing. So I'll just twist a little question around this only, and I'll ask Sonali about it. So Sonali, what I feel is now because of this COVID situation that has happened and the pandemic happening around us, we are no more able to go outside. So for us, luxury and living is coexisting together in a smaller space. It's a box, 300 square feet, 400 square feet, 600 square feet for someone in Mumbai, 10,000 square feet for someone in Hyderabad, and similar 10,000 square feet for someone in Delhi. So what do you feel, because people have spent so much time in their houses, how would they perceive luxury living?
Luxury, basically, I'm not sort of saying it's for everyone. I'm just making a very general statement here that for most North Indians, luxury is all about bling. Everything that glitters is gold. So, this is a very, very common perception of luxury. So today, being in a confined space, this has become even more important, branded furniture, because North India is a lot about what is perceived to be luxurious, what is perceived to be expensive, not as much of what you enjoy for yourself. So whether it be art, whether it be furniture, whether it be size of your space or the place where you live, address is very important in Delhi, unfortunately. And so these are the kind of things which start defining luxury for most Delhiites. You're living in South Delhi, you're living in a good part of South Delhi or a not so good part of South Delhi. Or if you're living in a condominium, which condominium in Gurgaon. So, these things become standards of luxury for most of the North Indians. In terms of the new sort of thing of luxury is the kind of lighting that you have. That has become extremely important because there is a sort of acceptance or a sort of education that has come in on certain aspects like this. Things like automation in your closed space, how slick you can make your closed space in terms of automation. Everything goes on your little pad or a little phone or Alexa or whatever it may be, So automation has become really as a perception of luxury. Lighting from makes which are known has become a perception of luxury. Furniture from brands has become a perception of luxury. I would say all these individually are very, very good. And sometimes they are put together very well, I have to admit, but not always. So that's where I have a little disconnect with it. But by itself, all these things have an element of luxury, which is very, very prevalent in Delhi. Things like fabrics, things like gardens. Gardens, living on a farm has always been, for the last 20, 25 years, been a big perception of luxury. The kind of farm you have. And then secondly, where is your farm located? The closer it is to Delhi, the higher sense of luxury it has, Not that it matters how good it is, but because it is closer to Delhi, it is more luxurious. If it's within the Delhi Delhi sort of boundary, it's even more luxurious, So these are the kind of luxury standards that most people in Delhi have, and that's what sort of gets sought after by most. So that becomes the aspirational sort of. This is what most people aspire. If you have this much, then that's the next part that you aspire for.
Got it. Well said, Sonali. So I'll just add on to it. What I feel is, as designers, as architects, it's upon us that we just, this thought process of the society, we can kind of dilute it to the factor that as designers, we can create something very interesting in the urban context or a smaller context. And that can be the landmark for people. And we can take it from there. Because now what we have realized is whatever we might have around us, we would have second homes, third homes, weekend villas to go to. But the cocoon that we had was our last home. So what mattered outside was nothing of help. What we were left with is the cocoon that we were in present living. So that is what would define the further take on how exactly the living would match up with the luxury. So taking further from here, I would want to ask from Supraja, what do you think post-COVID and pre-COVID? How will spaces change? What would be the thought process of the people? What do you think as a designer would be an intervention you would like to bring in?
So I think there will be a fundamental shift of, especially in India, when you make homes, the front elevation is very important. Your drawing room is very important. Your main door is very important. If you really see, people are looking so much at their house as it is perceived by outsiders. And so many times when you're having design discussion, all the time it is like, oh, what will everybody think? What will everybody say? I think fundamentally, now they will start saying that what will I say? What will my family say? What will I appreciate? I'm hoping people would look, when they're designing their house, more from inside out than outside in. Because what a passerby is going to see vis-a-vis what you're going to see and enjoy. And I think also in India, there's always a huge importance in planning the drawing room, and I know how you can entertain, and I think now the importance of what your bedroom has to offer, what your bathroom has to offer, what your study spaces or your home offices, which like in India, however small a place is, whether it's a 2-bedroom apartment or a 10,000, there is some space defined for puja, for prayer, right? It's a cabinet, or a desk space which is private to be able to do con call and keep your things. That will start getting incorporated. I think people will start thinking a lot more about themselves. The me in the house and my family will get more important than the society and the peer pressure, or my friend made this, my brother made this. I'm hoping that would be a tad bit less, if not a lot more less. That should be a fundamental shift.
Got it. So I'll shift the question now to Sonali, and I would just add on to what Supraja said. Now it's an immersive experience. There is no more an audience. In this COVID times, you are not meeting anyone. You are not allowed to have anyone to your home. So you build the house for yourself. Now, if it's too blingy, if it's practical or unpractical, it's for you to live in now. So what's your take on this?
You see, my take is that most people in Delhi or in the north will look at the COVID experience as a 6-month or a 1-year period. However, the house is going to be there forever, like 20 years, 25 years. Yeah. So they will not really, while they will look at their own comfort, which is all the gizmos and the practical aspect of it, they will not give up the idea of the visibility to an outsider, the branding that they need to present of themselves to an outsider. Because if it's not now, maybe eventually, maybe in a year's time, there will be some kind of a way where the social, even with a little bit of distancing, but some kind of socializing will recommence. So a house is not for now, house is forever. So that is going to be, while I guess they will take great deal of cognizance for their own comfort, which is a good thing. But the fact that a visitor will be coming at some point in time, if not now, maybe a year later, maybe 2 years later, and that they have to still present themselves as a brand will not go away.
Okay. I wish that changes, because this should teach us something, if not living in the same thought process. So I'll just bounce it off to Nanda, and I would want his take. Luxury is also going to be defined by the affordability of it. You can afford it right now because you have 10 servants to serve you. But if you don't have them, then what happens to the house?
Okay. So there's this example of food, right? Let me answer it through the food.
Sure.
So the globalization has bought us all kinds of stuff. You can get Korean sauces, Mexican condiments, all kinds of exotic fruit and all that, right? And suddenly COVID happens, all the shelves go empty. What do you get is your local stuff. So do you survive? You can absolutely survive, and we're probably doing it better, right? So that we'll have to relook at the mechanics of material and all that stuff that's going to happen across the board. So we might have to, in the near term, look at hyper-local material, maybe, even workers being, though that whole IGBC thing about material from within 100 kilometers or whatever naturally happens in a way. So this whole migrant worker thing and all that, there are going to be a lot of fundamental changes that will happen. But at the same time, I don't know, as Sonali said, the bling coming back after 2 years. There's a reason the Hyderabadis are called the Punjabis of the South. We do the same kind of bling, right? So we all need to rethink the way we do things, but let's hope we don't go back to the old normal. We are somewhere in between. Yeah.
Okay. Right. So So continuing on to what Mr. Nandu said, geographically being local is a thought process, and as per the green, timelines is building from whatever we have in 100 meters of us. I would just want, as designers, asking from Alpa that what do you think the weather, the climate, what we have outside defines what we will do inside as designers? How soulful as a designer do you create a space, and how do you interact with your client, telling him that this is what the weather is outside, this is what is inside, overlooking the thought process? How do you go about luxury over there? How do you perceive luxury to them, and how do you explain it to them?
Okay, so when it's an individual client, when we are talking of residence, it's a very personal space. Each one has a different perception of luxury, or as choices of colors, fabrics, anything to touch and feel, which is their home, because it's such a personal thing. So when we start designing, first of all, we understand from them what their lifestyle is, which is very important, from where they are, from where they have come. So it is about them. The house has to speak about them, and this is where the difference, I think, in Delhi and Bombay is, where, like Sonali said, Delhi is all about the brand and showing the people what they are. I think in Bombay, whenever we have done residence, whether it's luxury or whether it's a small residence, it's all about themselves and how they want to live in the space, what their personality is. So a lot of the choices of the color, materials and all comes out of interaction with the client and their story. That said, many a time it is also driven by the amount of light that comes into the room. Because yes, we have a lesser light, we will not go in for a cooler palette, we'll go for a little brighter palette. Whereas where we have a lot of light, we have the luxury of choosing from warm and cold. So to a certain extent, the color schemes are decided about with the perception of what the light and ventilation in the room is. But a lot of it, I would say 70% of it is on the personality of the person, because we like to understand, that is how we function in our studio. We like to understand the personality and design for that person or that family, rather than, just going with some style or some color and just splashing some colors here and there. So it's about developing, because a family, when you start working with a family, they kind of become your friends. They share secrets with you about one another, about what they like, they dislike. It's such an intimate part. You really get into an intimate part of their life when you're designing for them, and a lot of the design reflects from that interaction. So geographically to a certain extent, but I think it's more to do with the personality of the family and the person and their background.
Great. So I would just put it in one line. So it's almost like a contractual marriage that we have with our clients, yes, and that we share every thought process with them. And as you rightly said, it has to be the soul of the client. The brief has to be
Yeah,
fine for the client.
and just a further thing, yes, then comes the luxury of the element of choosing the switch, like she said, the switches, the automation, or the upholstery, or the light fitting. Yes, then it is defined by materials.
Yeah.
But initially, the design is by the soul.
Okay. Sonali, what is your take? Like, how do you infuse that, soul of a geographical place into, so it does not look alien into that part? So if you're building something in Delhi, it does not resonate to something in Mumbai or Hyderabad. How do you choose that? How, as a designer, is it different?
This is where a lot of hand holding with the client is required, because very often you have clients which have aspirations which are out of some other planet sometimes, but you really have to hold their hands and veer them very, very gently, where you keep telling them it's really their idea, but you sort of veer them into a direction which is much more sensible, which is practical, which is appropriate, and even gives you an opportunity to create the right design for them, So that is what is really important. So I would say Delhi is strong sun, harsh, very harsh summers, harsh winters. So, things like orientation is very important when we have the option for thermal comfort. North side gives you really even white light. South side gives you a lot of warm light. So, these are the aspects which become very important in a location like Delhi. Verandas are very nice to have. The integration of greens, because greens also bring you a lot of thermal comfort in the dry summers. So that becomes very, very important. Purity of materials to me is extremely important. And that's something which one wants to bring in, because Delhi has access to good stone, good brick. So to bring in the purity of materials is important to me personally. So I think orientation, bringing in sustainability, because we really don't have the resources. We are still we are very, very fast heading towards Bombay in terms of space and luxury of space. So I think it's important for us to make sure that whatever space that there is, we utilize it correctly. We give it the optimum kind of, functionality, and still give it the oomph that the North Indian client is really looking for, because that oomph is really, really important. Minimalism is not in the vocabulary of a North Indian client. So really one has to do a very clever mix of all these various thoughts that you may as an architect have, and what their aspirations of a good home is, and put it together so that it works both ways. It should not violate your sensibilities, but it should fulfill their aspirations. So that's really where one would come from.
I think we all resonate with you, because clients can be, like hyperactive child, and they can run around everywhere, and you have to handhold them and guide them that this is what should be for them, and not for, it should work for them. That is what it is. So taking further the cue from that, so luxury by common people, because we all have high-end clients and we have mid-segment clients as well. Luxury for common people is understood as brands, commodities, and consumerism, right? But whereas living is a sense of emotion and a state of being. So how do you think, as a designer, you differentiate and come about it and make it like one? So I would put it up to Nandu. Nandu, what's your take? Like, luxury is a far-fetched thought, and living is something it's like right now. So how do you integrate the two?
So what we are living with is living with constraints, right? But constraints are also what gets you creative solutions from designers, craft people, and all that. It's always a constraint that's got you something new. So let me explain this with some examples from our neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
So I hope I'm going to refer to Pakistani serials, right? I hope we've all seen one of them. So the difference between a Pakistani serial and an Indian serial is resources, right? So they don't have the garish sets. They don't have the garage makeup that we have. but they get to the essence of what it is. It is storytelling, right? So they get to the essence of it. So same thing will happen to design and everything. Coming closer to our field, so you take Sri Lankan architecture and work.
No.
So Sri Lankan architecture. So Sri Lanka always had a resource crunch. They didn't have a tile factory on the island. They didn't get a lot of materials. So they go back to the essence of just using cement and getting finishes, multiple finishes out of the same basic raw material. And they figure out a way of a design vocabulary that uses that restraint with materials and stuff. So I think we'll all need to get back to getting more to the basics. And as Sonali said, it's about the space, and we get to the essence of what that luxury is. Not the material side of luxury, but that essence of luxury. We'll get back to that.
Okay, great. Supraja, would you like to, share your thought on this? But adding on to it a little bit, does deep pockets define luxury?
So I think the word luxury is something which is difficult to between sourcing and affording. Then it becomes luxury. If everybody has it, it's no longer luxury, right? So whether it's a large piece of, like, in Hyderabad, in Bombay, in Delhi, it will be, first will be the location of your house is located, the address, the scale is the same, that makes a difference. So I think deep pockets definitely have a very close relationship with luxury. It can be a very nice place, but not necessarily luxurious. So luxury is attached with money, and it is, if everybody has it, it's no longer a luxury. I totally believe in that. People will shift to something else. Like in smaller towns, people look at the nearest city. Like I think in the States, the towns in Telangana look up to Hyderabad, and whatever is happening here is luxury for them. Whereas in Hyderabad, I mean, Nanda, you could completely correct me on this. I think it's so fashionable in Hyderabad to have a designer from Bombay or other cities, because again, you are not something everybody can easily access, right? I mean, so then I'm sure from people in Bombay and all, they were sourcing stuff from Milan long before other cities sourced that much. It was a lot more population. So it's definitely got to do with deep pockets. I have no doubt in my mind. And it's very aspirational, and it will continuously keep shifting. Like Fagnama Palace, back in the day, they had their chandeliers from, UK, Osler brand. I think sold maximum chandeliers in India, and Hyderabad is filled with those chandeliers. So Nandu, anything on Hyderabad and luxury?
I think you covered it.
Okay, great. I would just like to, a little contemplation for all designers and architects out here and people who would listen us. So I'm just asking, like, for a normal person, roti kapda makan is a thought process, right? It's a luxury. Everyone cannot afford it. We realize in these times, the migrant workers, they were moving from one place to other. For them, as Supraja said, coming to a city which offers job was luxury at that time. But when everything over here was shut, luxury was to be in their homes and having their own place, even smaller, bigger, whatever. They had luxury of surviving or luxury of living over there. So what I mean is, as soon as our aspirations go up, I think the luxury factor goes up, right? Supraja, correct me if I'm wrong over here.
No, it keeps elevating your luxury. What I thought, what I wanted at 10, what I wanted at 20, change at 30, it continuously keeps changing. One less thing, always want to up your standard of living, your quality of life, because our life is all about consuming. It's not really about upping our journey of soul. It's really, the journey is more physical.
Mm-hmm.
So all perceptions are physical and desires are physical. It's not.
Okay. In contrast to that, I'll just ask, let's say we all have,
it's all about
Can you hear me now?
I lost you there.
Can all of us?
Yeah. I was thinking
Yeah, now I can
wants
hear.
and not needs. It's really
Okay. So I just want to put it out there, like we are all avid travelers. We have, traveled to far-fetched countries. We have traveled to the nearest of the best hotels and everything. But when it comes to peace of mind and in a luxurious thought process, what I want to put up is we want to go to a place which is serene, which is beautiful in terms of nature. But probably, let's say, example of Maldives, the kind of resorts that we stay in, I don't think they're luxurious. They're fundamentally of that place. That is the best that you can afford to build with the basic stuff. It's not luxury of marble. It's nothing. It's like thatch roof. You have basic bamboo things to be done. But the commodity it is sold at, or the price that it is sold at, that is called luxury. So what are your takes on that?
I think, if I can just say that, I think the people who have managed to package a very basic commodity into a luxury actually is a very smart move, because it's not the money. It's just the way that, as I said earlier, the way the materials have been put together, the way they come together in terms of purity of form, materials, comforts, as well as art, is what constitutes luxury. So they've taken all the materials in its pure form, but they've just combined it well. They've created an ambience, whether it is a combination of outdoor, indoor, through a site selection, or the way the form is, or the way the furnishings are. They've just put it together right. And that's the reason why they are able to actually market it as a very high-end luxury product.
So if I can follow up on that.
Nanda,
So what they're marketing and packaging there is the experience, not the
Yes,
materials and all
absolutely,
that.
absolutely.
So Aman Resorts and any of those new age resorts, what the packaging is, the experience. So the rest are just part of the thing. Yeah,
exactly. So can we like kind of think about it that luxury is experience? It's actually not money, and it's not great finishes. It's just the experience you will use it with.
I started my presentation with that.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Now we are all kind of coming together towards that.
So luxury is essentially, it starts with consumerism, right?
Yes.
It doesn't start with experience. Branding and consumerism. There's a very different perception on how you.
No, so I'm just saying, let's say Sonali and we have been in Delhi and we are doing a lot of, Punjabi clients, and, they are, high value clients for us. And they come in and they say, I want a Versace hood, or I want something like this, So how does a designer play a role? If he has to go and buy something from Versace, how would Sonali and I would help? Versace would design it for itself and put it out there, right? What did I add as a value or a soul to that project? We have to kind of guide it, that person differently, right, Sonali?
Yes, to some extent you can, and sometimes you can't. So then you have to find a way how that one Versace fits into something that you feel will work around it. So you have to, you cannot ignore a client's aspirations. That's, a given, because after all, he is spending the money, he or she, and you have to be able to respect that. But how to then build around it to come to a solution which works for them and also for you is where the whole effort of design lies. And that will be different for every client, for every project.
Got it.
Yeah,
so
it's I think very similar to whether you have a wall and you want to put a painting on it, or whether you want to build around the painting that you have. A lot of times you have an art collection and you want to do the interior around that art collection and not just put it as a painting on the wall, I think.
Yeah, but Alpa, having said that, the idea is to have the fresh canvas first, right? Not have a preconceived thought. Yeah, yes. Got it. So taking to our last question, and I would ask Mr. Nanda to answer this, considering the paradigm shift that is happening in the construction industry with, no laborers around and the sourcing of materials might be a little problematic. So, people will look at materials which are readily available or can be applied faster. So do you think wooden flooring would be one of the options that people would move out, and instead of using in master bedrooms, it could go in throughout the whole house? What's your take on that?
So again, the perception, see, it's in the near term that you'll need these quick solutions, and also these faster solutions are for places that are being redone and stuff like that. For the newer projects and the new projects that are getting built, I think wood, the engineered and the actual wood flooring will always be a thing. They'll never come to the vinyl and the laminated flooring in the common areas. At least that's my take on it. And it's like fast fashion. There's a difference between a Pret collection and a fast fashion thing. So the brands need to work within those parameters.
Sonali, your take on this?
You know, timber is a lovely material, and it is used all over the world in public areas as well. But it just depends on the education of the user, because today, unfortunately, an average user here does not know how to respect a timber floor. It requires respect. Yeah. And I think till such time that happens, I don't see timber floors coming into public areas. However, it is one of the most beautiful floors, and should it be put in the public areas, it would really lend itself to a very, very nice special experience.
Exactly. Experientially said, like if you step out of a shower and you step on a cold floor, which is marble or tile, I think the feeling of stepping on a wooden floor will be much better. You know, you will kind of resonate that warmth. That is my take. Okay, so just to end the whole discussion, I just wanted, now we have this COVID times, and now probably every one of you would in another month open up your offices. What is your take? How is architecture and design industry going to take it? What would be the next thing happening? Do you see a recession coming? Do you see there are opportunities? What is your take? So anyone can start.
You know, recession is not coming. Recession has come. So
It's
let's deal with that,
Okay,
so I'm sure everyone's going to agree with me, unless somebody's extremely lucky. But I think according to me, one thing that we have realized, whether in the design field or otherwise, is that not everyone needs to come to office every day. So that is a given in all the fields. Now, whether in some fields, it could be 30%, some fields could be 50%, some fields could be 70%. So the percentage would vary, but the given is that not everyone needs to come to work every day. So that is take home number one, which means somebody who is living 25 kilometers away does not necessarily have to travel for 1.5 hours to come to work every day and spend 3 hours of their life doing nothing. The fact that communication through Zoom or any other means is a possibility for not everything, but let's say even 50% of our work is a possibility, the fact that we don't have to in person wait in offices sometimes for a 1-hour meeting. You probably spend 3 or 4 hours, by the time you get there, you wait for people to come, you get together, and all sorts of things that happen. That need not happen, because not 100%, but at least 50% of such meetings could very well be virtual. So these are the things. So these are the take homes which we have to now utilize very, very adequately and correctly, so that while you are in office or what meetings you attend is restricted, which is sort of measured, and we make sure that we become most productive and use our time most efficiently.
Okay. Anyone has a take? Anything?
I think she has nailed it, and it is not only about the staff coming to work, but it is also about meetings with clients. In a place like Mumbai, every time just for a 1-hour meeting, you have to go miles to talk to the client, and at their time, because in residences especially, everybody is available only in the evening. I think that little perspective is definitely going to change for Mumbai vastly because of the travel that we have to do from one place to another. I think definitely it will change.
I'd just like to add that meetings with consultants, where you drag 10 different teams to one location, that can totally change, and you can get on Zoom and sort those out. But I think design teams need to get together to share that energy. That might not change, might change a bit. Not every meeting needs to be one thing. The other thing I'd like to do is take a 2-month holiday every year, if I could afford it.
Yeah,
That'll be nice.
That'll be nice. Supraja, would you like to add on?
For me, the most important things I think, and which one is a very positive side for our profession, especially in the residential sector, is I think people will now at least the next one holiday or a new car or even jewelry or anything like that. You want to spend the money in your homes. If someone's building a home, all those extra expenses, if they were going on the cards, also have got. I was going to a client's daughter to get married, and something we were talking, and then I said, she's very well afford a huge wedding, but she can't do it now. I'm like, spend more money in the house. So I think that's the good news is as interior designers, we'll get, so in spite of the recession in residential design, there's great news. And the other thing is, I personally believe that, this whole 24/7, working 24/7, I always believe that the TV shouldn't have come from the living room to bedroom. The email shouldn't have come from the desktop to laptop to the phone. I think I'm hoping that people having spent this kind of time with themselves and their family will realize that there should be a line to draw for work. And, like Sonali said, she's fitted in more physical exercise. With me also, to meditate twice a day, to work out twice a day, to cook my own food, in my dream. And I feel a little one step closer to my dream than just working. So I'm very hopeful that COVID will teach us good lessons and we will mend our ways of
I think
how we're living currently.
You kind of stole all the words that I wanted to say. That I think recession is a thought process, because this time has created so many possibilities for architects and designers. People who were living in apartments, who had lands, but they never wanted to build because they had everything around them in the societies, be it anything. And we take from Godrej to DLF, whatever. People were having that luxury, but they could not use that luxury. Now they realize everything is within the compound wall that they have. Then you have to build it. So apartment people came up to me and they're asking to build homes for themselves in a parcel of land. The same thought process. People have spent so much time at their homes. They have the kids, their house chores, and then work from home is also happening for the man in the house. They need separate spaces. It cannot happen at the same time. So there will be probably extensions or alterations as designers. We'll be asked how it can be worked out. So I see opportunities right over there. And yes, just Nandu said, consultant meetings and all this. I think now people will respect each other's time and their time as well. There has to be a time for the work. There has to be time for family. There has to be time for a creative output for ourselves as well. So having said that, this was a lovely interaction having you guys over here, and I thank you all for your great views and the presentation. And I hope everyone stays safe and let's look forward to it. Let's be more creative.
Thank you for having us. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
India is a knowledge-sharing platform, and we have launched Ask iDAC, an interactive networking forum for the build professionals of the construction industry. We have got a lot of interesting questions from the audience, but however, due to time constraints, our panelists will be able to answer only a few. So this is for the audience, but we will make sure that all the questions, they don't go unanswered. All the pending questions will be answered by our industry stalwarts on www.askidac.com. So don't forget to sign up after this question and answer round. Over to you, Love, sir.
Thank you. I would, hi guys. So I would just, answer a few, ask you certain questions further, which, we saw in the question and answer box from the people who are viewing us. So this is for Nandu. Do we have Sonali over here? If not, then Nandu, you could answer this one.
Okay.
So what can replace marble flooring at home? As it is, there are so many demerits to it. So what is the alternative to it? What do you think?
See, what's come out is some of these large format tiles. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah. So some of those seem good. In bedrooms, I would go for engineered wood generally, and there are new technologies where you're getting larger planks and stuff like that. So those are the kind of things that are coming up.
Okay.
I think,
Okay.
yeah.
Great. So
there's one more thing. There's also this lot of seamless surfaces that are coming out of which are like a chemical application that gives you a seamless floor across the whole room. So some of those new technologies are also quite good. Yeah.
Great. Okay, Sonali is here. Sonali, would you like to answer the same if you heard us, or
Sorry,
should I
could you
repeat?
just repeat the question? I missed that.
No problem, I'll do that. So in your opinion, what do you think will replace marble flooring? Because marble flooring has a lot of flaws, demerits, just to, maintenance point of view. So what do you think should replace that?
Timber is a very, very nice alternative, except for the fact that we have to use it very, very carefully, and we need to be educated enough to use it correctly.
Yeah.
So, because it's a fast application, it's a dry application. So, from that point of view, it's a great floor. However, due to the restrictions of timber felling in India, it probably would have to be an imported floor if it's a hardwood floor or an engineered floor, because the beauty is in using the actual wood. Laminates is very plastic, so I would not really count that as a timber at all. And since we have restrictions with Indian timber, it would have to be necessarily a imported floor. But I think there are so many nice options available, so that is definitely one option. Other option, of course, is things like tiles, we have really a very good variety available, locally made. And also tiles are much, much faster in terms of its application. They are engineered products, so it has a precision, which obviously a natural material sometimes lacks. So I think these two are probably our best options at this point in time as a replacement to natural stone.
Okay, lovely. That's a good thought process. And timber, for me personally as well, is a very good material to use in any of the projects. Over to Supraja. Supraja, I have this question from one of the participants. One of the people over here. How much do sustainable and natural products contribute to luxury, in your opinion?
So, in India, for a while, currently, luxury is so related to literally imported products, machine-made products. But the definition is slowly shifting to handcrafted, handmade, and natural materials. Like I remember in textiles, cotton, India did not give much of a heed to cotton or linen, right? I mean, after linen got so fashionable, now quality cotton, now khadi is suddenly luxury. Khadi wasn't luxury at one time. So I think natural and handmade materials is going to be the next luxury. It's not fully caught on as much. It is still a lot of machine made, and of course a lot of bling in the north of India, like Sonali has said, which natural materials don't have. But the way forward, I would think, is natural as well as handcrafted.
Lovely. Alpa, what's your take? If say, like, in your opinion, do luxury elements come in from expensive products? Alpa, I think your audio is off.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Luxury elements is not necessarily expensive products, and very much like all of us panelists are on the same thought level. Yet natural products are very luxurious if used in the right manner. So it is not about the expense, but how you use a particular material. And like Supraja just said, handicrafts. We are blessed in India to have lovely artisans all over India. Each part of India has a different different artisans who is, they are the handicrafts. In fact, we used all these in one of our luxury design residences, and it was selected for WAF. And the judges over there, they loved the fact that Indian handicrafts were implemented in each and every space of that house, and that is why it kind of was shortlisted as one of the finalists. So I think using handicrafts, natural material, very much like all my other panelists have said, is the new luxury. The expense, the branded goods, the bling will always be there, but I think people are moving more towards more natural materials and things like that.
Okay, great. You being in Mumbai, I just wanted, like, what do you think is the flooring that you would recommend on a weather which has a coastal platform over there? So what would be the flooring that you generally recommend to your clients?
Okay, so in a house, if you are talking about, I think all kind of flooring will work, because a house is a very it is a controlled environment as such. That said, yes, maybe in the public areas you will not go in for a natural wood. In Mumbai or in coastal regions, because of the humidity levels, we may not go in for natural wood, but the engineered woods are all treated nowadays, and they are in certain formats which are insect free and moisture resistant. So maybe in the more private spaces, definitely you can go in for even wooden flooring. But that said, in coastal area, I don't think it would be a particular that you go in for this flooring or that flooring. Hard flooring is always better, I think, in coastal areas. But it is more driven in the cold places, I would say, where you would be particular about what flooring you use. Like very rightly said earlier, that you don't want to step into a cold, after you get out of the bed, you don't want to step onto a cold floor. So I think it is more to do with the weather in cold places, where you have to be more particular about what flooring you use. In the coastal, I think everything would work, except for natural hardwood, probably. Because
Okay.
nowadays
So
the
you're
wooden
saying
floorings have reached a new high with all the engineering.
all the engineering. Got it.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Nandu, I would just say, have you ever used any of, like, the new SPC and the LVTs, which are vis-a-vis wooden flooring? Have you done any projects in that thing with those products?
Not yet, but we've
Not
done the engineered wood is where we've done the last few projects. Yeah,
Okay.
we've looked at samples. We've been looking forward to using them, but we haven't used them yet.
Okay. We also have a question, which is I'll throw it out there to everyone to answer. That why are Indian designers not designing patterns or more wood flooring designs like international designers are? So what's your take on that, Supraja?
Because I guess the manufacturing is not that much in India, so they don't need Indian designers. Wherever it's getting manufactured, the local designers are designing it. I would think it's as simple as that, Sonali.
Yeah, probably you're right. Because no, also according to me, there's one big aspect that in India, people, you see, when a product or anything which is developed in any place, it requires a lot of R&D and a lot of product prototyping and development, which has a big cost factor. Now, when you create a product in India, people are not willing to pay that kind of a price very often if it is made in India. They will pay the price if it is made in, let's say, Italy, and they will happily pay for the product development. But for an Indian product development to happen, nobody is willing to pay a price. And I think that is one of the biggest problems that, furniture and product development as a process is facing in the Indian market.
Rightfully said. Alpa, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
So what's your take on this? Would you like to design new floors?
It's not about floors. I will not particularly talk about floors, but I'll talk about timber as a material, which is a very beautiful material. Like Sonali had said, if used well, it's luxurious, it's warm, it's beautiful. And in fact, we revamped a space, an office space for our client, where there were some old trusses and all, which were just, covered by the false ceiling. And we opened them up, and it was so beautiful. It has brought such a warmth to that whole space. And yeah, so timber is a very beautiful material to work with
Got
if
it.
it's used right.
Nandu, what's your take? If you are
So
approached
I
by
think,
like Parador does that?
yeah, I agree with Sonali when she says the lack of R&D essentially is one of the reasons that we don't get into that process of doing working with stuff. So I think that's one of the issues. Nobody's ever approached us to get to. I think there are very few manufacturers here in India, but most of they tie up with somebody, an Italian guy or a German, and say German technology and all those kind of things. But I haven't seen products being developed here in India. So we definitely like to participate in those endeavors if they come up.
I think people out there who wouldn't, including Parador, you should our panelists are there. We are ready to design something new for you guys. And what I feel is European products are being sold in the Asian market today like anything. Asian market is the biggest market that they have, and the designers belong to Italy, they belong to Spain, and all other part of the part of the world. What I feel is Indian designers can really imprint or kind of detail that the level of detail that we can bring in, which can really relate the product to Indian mindset or the Indian thought process, or even geographically, we can bring it down to that level that people will start relating that flooring to Indian culture, and that is how you can kind of package it and you can sell it out. But it's just that we have not been approached. Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Nandi.
So we've participated in a manufacturer of tile making equipment who looked at designing tiles the Indian way. So we've worked for that, but we've never come across somebody do that with the wooden side of things.
Okay, got it.
In
So
fact,
I
we have,
think,
I'm sorry, but
yeah,
we
please,
have
please,
done
please.
this wooden floor designing with
Yeah.
very much European manufacturers. In fact, just before the lockdown, I was in Italy and we had gone to a wooden manufacturing factory. And we said, we want it like this with this border and this finish. And they showed us the different finishes and processing and how we can make it darker or lighter. And we did come up with our own design. But like all of us said here, if somebody starts it here, we will do it here.
Lovely. Because I'll share my experience. I was doing a project which is Hyatt Regency in Dehradun, and while I was approached by multiple companies for wooden flooring, Parador was one of them. I got the opportunity to work with them, and then the R&D that they allowed us to do was pretty incredible. Because otherwise, it's related to square feet. You provide us this much order, and then we can change the things. It's not the other way around. It should be whatever might be the quantity of the order that you do, but it's just the design essence we can bring in a 500 square feet or a 10,000 square feet space, whatever. So as a designer, I feel it should not be limitation for Indian designers that you have to give us this much business to start developing that product for you.
I think at some point, numbers and design can or should get unrelated. Otherwise, design will never be able to grow.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
that's, I think, a challenge all of us designers are facing, that we just get so governed by numbers from all sides.
Yeah. Exactly. Because, these European designers are designing it. They are not selling it out. They are creating a package which will be ultimately sold out. So it's the same for us as well. So the parameters remains the same. It's just in the Indian context or the Asian context, we are asked to give that much of the business, or that much of the requirement that has to be fulfilled. So they go back to the R&D then. So I feel this can pretty much change. So anything, we are almost done. I think we have taken a lot of questions and everyone has contributed to their time. So Supraja, would you like to? I see raising hand over
So
there.
I was saying, Sonali, on those lines, on what she's saying, I think it's always economies of scale which are related to manufacturing, and the luxury will be having bespoke, having designs in small quantity, and you can get it made. I think there will be bespoke is the new luxury to me, and not just buying things off the shelf. If you need 500 square foot, it comes at a certain price, because there's a cost to manufacture a smaller, in a machine made setup. So bespoke is also a luxury and is the new luxury, actually.
It is absolutely the new luxury.
And I think also, as we said earlier, local and regional is also one of the luxury now.
Yeah.
It's a necessity for now.
Yeah, I think keep creating an experiential sort of a situation which is aspirational. It provides the right experience and it uses the local nuances, products. Putting it together is probably the way the new luxury would be perceived.
Got it. Got it. Anyone wants to add on to what Sonali said?
No, I think we should stop with Sonali's.
Great. That was great one. Over to you, please, Devanshi, please.
A big thank you for the colossal knowledge shared this evening. It is an absolute honor to hear of it firsthand from none other than professionals like you all. Also, a special thanks to our sponsor for this webisode, that is Parador. We thank our audience that have shown support and tuned in this evening. Should you all have any further queries, please feel free to contact Team iDAC. All the pending questions will be answered by our industry stalwarts on www.askidac.com. Till then, stay home, stay safe, and stay healthy. Thank you so much, Love Sir, for moderating it.
Thank you.
Thank you, all the panelists, for sharing such amazing knowledge. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alpa ma'am.
Thank you,
guys.
iDAC.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sonali ma'am.
Thank you, iDAC.
Thank you,
Good
Supraja
evening.
ma'am.
for the
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Nanda sir.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you all.